So hello, everyone. This is Karan Dillon from the Contractors Coach. So the Contractors Coach is a business coaching company focused on contractors. And what we do is we help contractors grow their company, grow profits, and develop a successful business. And today I have Ed Earl with me, who's the CEO of Contractors Staffing Source. So Ed, why don't you share a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Karen. So my name is Ed Earl. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Contractors Staffing Source. We are a recruiting service that is designed exclusively for the residential construction industry. I have about 30 years of experience in construction. I actually run a project management company down here in San Diego. I'm also a business coach and also work with contractors as well. So then my focus now is really on recruiting, because we've realized that that is the biggest need that's necessary in residential construction right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big reasons that we're even having this conversation is because as business coaches, one of the things that we really try to do, or that's the focus that we have with our clients, is help them grow their businesses, right? When we say grow your business, what does that specifically mean? Obviously, you can make more money, but just working harder and making money isn't really useful, right? You're just trading time for dollars. You're better off being an employee. Right. So what we do really when we work with a client is we help them develop a business where the business runs on systems, and then you have your team trained to run those systems, right? So because then you actually have a real business versus just being a glorified self-employed person. Right. But in order for a business to use systems and have employees use those systems so that owners can step back and manage the company, right? In order for that to happen, you have to have competent employees in the business that are capable of running those systems, capable of taking responsibility and producing the results that you're looking for.
Exactly.
But very frequently, what we find is that contractors are hesitant to let go of employees that really they should let go of, and they just keep them on, or they even hesitate to bring on new people. Now, as a person who's an expert in this space, so Ed, what's your insight? Why is this so common in construction or from construction owners?
Yeah, no, that's true. Karen, we call that the worst employee. How we define the worst employee is someone that's not bad enough to fire, but they're not good enough to keep. But yet they keep them on. And they keep them on really oftentimes out of fear. Out of the fear that they're not going to be able to find someone else to replace them, or that they're afraid that it's going to take too long to try to train someone new. And so those are the reasons why they end up keeping that worst employee. And there's a couple of mistakes, 2 or 3 mistakes that we find that many contractors make when it comes to recruiting, and that further supports their problem of being stuck with those worst employees.
Yeah, and also one of the challenges I think in this space is that most contractors are not really experts in the hiring process.
Correct.
Right? And that's one of the challenges is there's a hesitancy that, hey, if how do I know if the person I'm going to hire is even a good hire? Many people can interview well. So how do you help with that?
Right. So, you're exactly right. One of the mistakes that contractors make is that they try to do the recruiting themselves, which is interesting because all good contractors know that the best way to grow your business is you hire the best subs you can, right? A contractor knows they don't go out and try to wire the house themselves. They hire the best electrical sub they can find. So it's interesting when they approach recruiting, instead of going out and finding the best person they can to do recruiting, they think about doing it themselves. And so that's what we provide here at Contractor Staffing Source is an expertise and a system for being able to recruit, attract, and hire qualified candidates in the construction industry.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mentioned is in terms of systems, right? This is one of the key systems in any business. It doesn't matter, if it's construction or not. You have to have a highly effective recruiting process.
Right.
Because the challenge is in the absence of that, what happens is you sort of have an ad hoc approach, which is, oops, I got a project. What do? I need somebody, right? Right. Or somebody left. Now what am I supposed to do, right? Oh crap, we gotta fill this position.
Right.
So in the absence of a system, you're always sort of behind the 8 ball, right? Trying to play catch up. And the other thing that happens is that, especially when we work with a client, our goal is to double the size of their company as quickly as possible, But to double the size of the company, what does that actually mean? Most people think it's like, okay, I should do twice as much work, which means I booked, twice as much in sales or in projects. Fantastic. But what happens when contractors book twice as much work is now they're just booked out twice as long. And weirdly enough, many contractors take pride in that. They're like, oh, I'm booked out 6 months, right? Look at
Exactly.
me, how great. But the point is, that's actually not good for business
You're
because
right.
there are two key reasons. Number one, your cash flow is not just stretched out for 6 months. Instead of getting the cash in now, you're going to somehow get the cash in later if you do, because the people who are waiting actually just might end up going to your competitors. And that happens very often. Most people don't realize, right? And so the thing is that if you're booked out months, 3, 4 months, it's not a matter of pride, right? The only reason you're booked out is because you haven't grown your company, which means you haven't grown your team.
You don't have the capacity to be able to produce it quicker.
Bingo, and that's the key word, right? So how do you help people not have this, ad hoc project management mentality?
Right. Yeah. Great point. Well, it's another, I think, perspective that contractors have. They approach everything as a project that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And what they need to understand is that that's not the way recruiting works. You don't go out and hire someone, and then once you hire someone, boy, you're done. You can check that off the list. Recruiting is just like, I know you say to all of your clients, it's just like marketing. You never stop marketing. Well, recruiting is the same way. You should never stop recruiting. You should always be looking for candidates. And so the way that our system works, rather than charging it on a per fee basis, many recruiting charges, 2 months of the starting salary or some large sum. Ours is a low monthly fee, and that allows contractors to be able to engage with us on an ongoing basis. So whether they're actively looking to hire new employees or they're just looking to build their bench, they can continue to work with us. And so, yeah, it's that system to understand that recruiting is an ongoing process. You do that day in and day out, just like you do in marketing.
Yeah, and that's one of the key things we discuss with our clients is that in order to win, right? I mean, at the end of the day, business is a game. There's winners and there's losers, right? In order to win, you have to build an A team, right? It's just like anything, in football, the best team generally wins, right? And it's the same thing with construction because construction is a business. You have to build your A team, which means you have to be willing to let go of your B players or even worse, C players, and then bring the A players on.
Right.
And you really don't get an understanding on how to do that unless you have enough people you're talking to on a consistent basis.
Correct.
Right?
And I love this. I love the sports analogy too. That's what we say, is that you should always be building your bench. Any professional sports team, you have your first string, your second string, your third string, and they're there ready to step in. So don't wait until your project manager gives you a 2-week notice and says, hey, we're moving to a different city. You should already have project managers, either junior project managers that you're growing or people that you've talked to recently that you've had interviews with. And you said, look, you're a great candidate. As soon as I can hire you, I'm going to hire you. It puts you in a much better position to be able to grow as your business expands, like you said. And so you don't have this 6-month backlog of projects because you don't have the capacity to be able to produce those.
Yep. And so this is, definitely one of the key systems that we recommend that people build and build at a professional level, because your business is only as good as the team.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So fantastic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ed.
Exactly right.
Okay. So this was great. Thanks for all the insights, Ed. So if people really want to get a hold of you or your company to find out more about your services, how can they do that?
Sure. Well, we'll put a graphic up here on the screen right now that has our website and our phone number. Again, the name of the company is Contractors Staffing Source, and we'd be happy to offer a free consultation. We can help you identify what positions that you should be advertising for. We have a very sophisticated system that we can share with you where we post the job postings on 25 different job boards, and then we have a great assessment process. And I guess that would be the other thing I would say too, is one of the other problems why they get stuck with that worst employee is they don't do a good enough job of assessing their candidates before they hire them. And we have a really terrific, outstanding assessment system that can help with that as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for all the insights, Ed. It was great talking to you.
Great. Thank you, Karan.